Alright, so I am using the conveyor. So first things first, we have to go over here to the far right side, drop down this laser flat, and you gotta choose conveyor feeder. You're gonna get a screen like this. Let me zoom out though so you can see it even better. See? So you have this whole entire platform. So this blacked out area up here is actually not an engraving area. One of the things that got brought up is, well, how do I know where I'm cutting at? So let me go through the process and show you what I do to figure this out. So I'm gonna ignore that first. I need this brought over, and I need to put it on output. This is gonna go to cut. All right, there we go. All right, I have this, let me turn on the machine. So what's gonna happen is I'm gonna set a piece of wood on this conveyor. I'm gonna clamp it down with this. It'll get fed through here and the laser will engrave it. The black or darker spot that's on that screen is pretty much right here. That's this open gap. So really, your laser engraving starts about right in this area where this is hooked up. So when you do this, you wanna use these little grid squares and line that up so it lines up with this. One thing I like to do is also line up the flat edges, or the flat edges, sorry, to the this thing, because it'll come out pretty much where it needs to be. With the conveyor, you're gonna get a lot of smoke if you're doing cutting, so just be prepared for that. So what you gotta do is lower this. Don't wanna do it too tight, because if it's too tight, it won't actually roll. But you can test it with this. So this is a nice way to see if it's gonna move or not. One thing I'm noticing is this board, you can see that it's warped a little bit, so it's bending up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flip this over and use the other side. All right, now we got that. All right, now what I was saying for the laser, we need to do that. We need to mark it. So what I do is I'll bring this over here, we'll get our depth. So anyways, what you have there is the little marker. Went down to depth and got the distance between the laser and the wood. I'm using 3mm basswood because I think that this is probably similar to the underlayment that I buy for like 20 bucks for like an 8-foot sheet. If you look at the conveyor, what you have here is this dark spot up here is pretty much your off limits area that's not actually engraving. This is pretty much where the board starts, and I'll show you. See where that little crosshair is? Where the white line starts and it goes down, it has this. So I'll come over here. Basically, if you look, that's where the laser lines up. Then, looking at this, all that white area is down here. So what's gonna happen is it's gonna feed into this laser. So let me go back over. I know for a fact that this is what I want to cut, and then I'll typically go in here and drop this when using the underlayment to about 9 or 7 because it won't cut all the way through because that glue is easy. All right, so we have this on here. That's set to go. It's ready to cut. Now we gotta go to framing. This is how you find out how this is actually gonna fit on here. So hit framing, walk back over. Now hit the little blue button. And this is gonna show you exactly where it's gonna cut. All right, so as you can see, my board's not out far enough. All right, so how I fix that is I'm gonna go over here, I'm gonna push this board out just a little bit farther, and I'll redo that. So I made the adjustments. It's still on the framing mode. Hit the button again. Now we'll see if it'll cut. One thing you need to be aware of when you're doing this is look at the rails. You want to make sure your laser's not going to cut into those. So I'm going to make one more adjustment. And basically I'm just gonna drag this that way some. And then we'll do framing one more time, just make sure we're good. With all these little pieces, as it's going to fall out and it can jam. So you have to be ready to hit the button and to grab those pieces out. So let me hit process. Alright, so like moments like this where those pieces fall out, you look underneath, those things can get jammed. So we need to start popping those out and pulling them. Just pausing this for a second. Alright, and raise this, take the board off. Now you have a piece cut out. Reasons to move the wood out of the way. Let me show you this piece specifically. The laser was sitting on the spot underneath, I was just burning into it. Alright, so anyways, we have the template for this. Stained, black, background. I have these little pieces we'll put on here. We'll get these all glued down. I'm gonna stain that and that. This will be good to go.